And the phone they used on the Andy Griffin where it called the operator and she connected.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank everybody for coming out. These are fun times, right? I mean, talk about good, positive things. We are going to, the process for tonight is, actually I want to thank Council, Redevelopment, and Board of Works. We got all the decision makers in the House tonight. Just a little revamp of how the process had gone up till now. We had approved some funds for engineering firm American Structure Point to help us with the planning phase of the riverfront development project. And we've said this in public many times. One thing that this group, before we even took our seats, but we were elected and meeting before we took our seats in January of 16, the one thing we wanted to make sure was that, we had something to hang our legacy on, so to speak. Not that it's not about us, it's all about the community. Don't get me wrong when I say that. Anything we do up here, we should have the community in mind, and I think we do. But everybody saw the importance of a riverfront development project. This group thought it was very important that we move forward with that. It's been talked about in the past for a lot of years. Every administration does studies. Every administration has ideas. What we decided to do was to quit talking about it and do it. And I think this group, thus far, we're a third of the way done with this process. There's three steps in the process. You got the planning phase, you got the design phase, and the construction phase. We're entering into the design phase. Planning phase is done. Structure Point came down on numerous occasions. We had community meetings. We developed a steering committee made up of many business and community leaders, and everybody had input. Anybody that wanted input had input. What they have done with that input is put out there what do you call it, a wish list in the renderings. I think Katie Price says it best, just took everybody's ideas and we tried to incorporate it, all of the ideas that had support, outside of the Ferris wheel that Brian Methmore wanted, I guess. But, we put these into a plan, and of course, whenever you roll out a plan, the media gets a hold of it, and things are maybe a little misconstrued, which happens from time to time around here. But at the end of the day, the number that was presented for each phase and at the total piece of the project was a number that was up here on that wish list. It's good at the end of the day when construction phase comes, even during the design phase, it's going to be up to these groups. I'm talking Redevelopment, Council, Board of Works, the decision makers, to decide what is affordable, what is doable, and how we move forward. Which phases, there's different phases to this whole project. The phase I think we're mainly going to talk about tonight is, I think, what people are referring to the civic park piece of it over here on, would call it for lack of better terms, music on the river lots over there. And everybody's seen those ideas. Everybody's seen a price tag. And I know Structure Point will do a better job of explaining this than I do, about how we go to the next process. What I do appreciate is everybody's willingness, from their willingness to the community's willingness to have participated in this process, because it's a community project. It's not these three groups that are the decision makers. When I say decision makers, that's after the process has been developed by the community. And I think we've done a pretty good job, or Structure Point's done a pretty good job of capturing that. The ideas that came from the community and the steering team. With further ado, I think I'll let Sean take over and start us off.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. So many of you know me. We've been down here, I think, quite a bit over the last year putting this plan together. For those of you who don't, I'm Sean Kofer with American Structure Point. I've been the project manager on this, working with Katie and Ben. Katie will really, here in a minute, walk you through the process that we've done, how we got here, all those pieces. But what I wanted to kind of start doing is echo what the mayor mentioned, because this is a community endeavor. We work with a lot of different communities, and it requires a lot of input. Sometimes we don't get it. So we have to kind of make things up on our own. This thing, I was really proud to work on because the community actually embraced it. We had a lot of involvement, whether it was just the steering committee meetings or the meetings with the community at the Music on the River. A lot of people came in, put their opinions in. A big part of it was even setting up the website. A lot of people took advantage of that, put their opinions in, sent them in. We got all those, we gathered them. And what Katie will describe is we took all that stuff that we got and created a snapshot of what the community wanted. So this is the community's vision. This is not a Structure Point vision, anything like that. This is the city of Lawrenceburg's vision. All we did was put it on paper for you. Right now, we're at the 50,000 foot view, I'll say. What Katie will go through in the end pictures that you see, those are really high level areas. That's the first piece of the design phase that we went through. What we want to do and what we want to get through tonight is pushing to go to the 10,000 foot level, where we'll start honing in on some details on some projects that the city might want to take on. Like I said, we'll focus on the Civic Park, and then talk about some of those things, and try to push down and really narrow down our focus and what Lawrenceburg really wants to tackle. So from there, I'm going to let Katie take over, and she'll go through all our process that we went through over the past year.
Thanks, Sean. I am very excited to be here tonight. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their day to join us. It's really been my pleasure to kind of lead the group through this process, and I'm excited to kind of share what we've come up with over the summer months. So Ben's going to click the slides for me, so if we're a little out of sync, I apologize in advance, but we'll do the best we can. Just kind of an agenda for tonight, we want to spend just a brief period of time discussing kind of how we've gotten to these recommendations. We did spend several months this summer kind of getting to this point, so we want to make sure kind of, we'll just walk you through. And then a large chunk of our time, I think, is going to be discussing what everybody has been excited about, and those are really the recommendations and the implementation steps that are addressed in the plan itself. So we'll just go ahead and get started. The plan itself, you can click, okay. The plan itself focuses on just over those 2 miles of riverfront, and really the original purpose and kind of what we were presented with is to identify a series of improvements that could really serve as a catalyst for future private investment, all while kind of respecting the existing history and the community culture that really thrives here now. So the plan's recommendations are really centered on using both the city's historic downtown, the beautiful natural amenity of the Ohio River, to create a variety of different types of public space, to provide connections to the waterfront itself, and to create a variety of opportunities for that new and private development within the community. Then additionally, a central component of the plan that the group kind of arrived at is really to strengthen the idea that the city of Lawrenceburg itself is really a regional destination, and it's not just a stop on the way to adjacent cities, towns, and other nearby attractions. Go ahead. I'm going to have to click a couple of times. Uh-oh. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Can our board, can you guys see it on the end? Should we scoot it a little bit? You okay?
Okay.
You
Well, I can kind of go through the rest of our stuff and we'll catch up to kind of the beautiful slides there in the middle. So I think as most of you know, our project really originated here with this group, the council and the Redevelopment Commission. And then a team of 18 individuals came together to form a steering committee that really worked through this process with us. So those 18 individuals, they represent business owners, community organization leadership, a variety of community and even county stakeholders and partners, as well as city leadership. It was really important to that group and everybody that has been involved that this plan, just as Sean said, isn't our vision. It's really the community's vision, and that it was very important to everyone that we incorporate public input and ideas throughout the entire process. So in addition to our core steering committee, the design team met with local residents, business owners, and other community stakeholders in 4 different ways. We had a series of stakeholder interviews over the course of a month. I probably met with 10 to 12 different groups, in groups and one-on-one conversations. We held an informal community event and Music on the River this summer. We had a formal public open house to discuss some of the concepts. And then we had 2 online tools, a project website as well as kind of an online social platform where we were able to pose questions to the group and get kind of real-time answers. So we were able to implement all these things and get that input at varying points in the project. So as we went through everything, we had public ideas and suggestions at the forefront of our mind that, and not just with us, with the steering committee as well. We shared all of this throughout the entire process. Keep going, there we go. So together we helped walk the steering committee through a variety of exercises as well as the public to really start to generate a whole new vocabulary to define the riverfront and really help them kind of see these existing amenities as opportunities. And we discussed with them how we could use these to build upon in the future. And it's really those assets that we kind of landed on those historic places, that great culture, the businesses in downtown. These assets really all formed the framework of our envision. So, can you click forward? And so that the envision that we all kind of crafted together is supported by a series of design principles. And really we used those to work through every design concept. We measured everything to these kind of principles and framework. And we kind of refined as we went through. And we kind of didn't settle on anything until we felt everything was met the best way that we could. Click one more time, I think. There we go. So to kind of summarize, the plan's final recommendations is really to kind of identify, I guess we wanted the riverfront to have a variety of amenities and infrastructure improvements that really help create and define a sense of place for the community and for the city. And we wanted to make it that physical destination, which it currently is not now. So the improvements that we'll talk about here in a minute really intended to provide additional connectivity to the waterfront and to downtown, create places for activity, and then altogether those things would generate opportunities for that private investment as well as redevelopment within downtown and the community as a whole. That vision was supported by 5 design principles. These are the things that we always brought up, like I said. They were kind of at the top of everyone's priority list. They included featuring the river as a front door, activating the riverfront, engaging with the water, and limiting the obstacles to connect to the river. So any concept we came up with, we used those 5 principles to review it, and we made sure everything was kind of met before we moved on, or we identified how we could improve upon it to better kind of define the end goal. Click one more time, I think. Okay. So the creation of the master plan really starts with identifying a conceptual program of elements. That to us is really what you as a community need and want and what you want to see. So we worked through a series of exercises with the steering committee to define what these program elements are. We kind of reviewed those 5 different categories, showed a series of pictures to help us identify scale, character, and really whether the amenity was desired or not. And it provided us a lot of information on what kind of was important and maybe what wasn't so important. So we took all of that information and formed 3 unique concepts. The steering committee and the public reviewed these concepts in kind of a session with the steering committee as well as a public meeting. And each one we went through, they provided information on elements they liked from each concept, what they disliked, and then what they felt was missing, so we could kind of understand what was hitting and what was missing the mark. Hold on. So following the public meeting, we got a lot of good feedback, a lot of good notes. We internally went back and synthesized everything, and have kind of pulled everything into our final recommendations. Now we can click. One more, there we go. So the preferred plan that we're going to talk about tonight combines the successful elements of those 3 previous concepts that we highlighted just a moment ago. And really what we've ended up with is a plan that magnifies the potential for both civic and riverside activity, connectivity, and future investment. The plan has been broken down into 9 overall projects. All of them interrelate and connect and provide a variety of amenities. One more time. And tonight we're just going to walk through and kind of highlight the 9, and then we'll kind of move into a discussion on the implementation strategy. So we'll start with the Civic Park. The Civic Park offers opportunities for daily leisure and for larger community events with direct riverfront connectivity. The nearly 1-acre park that occupies the existing parking lots at the intersection of Short and High Streets will be transformed into a vibrant urban park that can be used for a variety of events, including the summer concert series Music on the River. The Civic Park will provide access from downtown to the top of the existing Ivy Tech parking garage roof deck, and this direct access would provide residents and visitors with a clear and accessible path from downtown to the riverfront. The park would also include a permanent event stage, artistic overhead shade structures, an interactive water feature, and a variety of seating elements. The Grand Terminus provides not only a space for larger waterfront events, but an area where residents and visitors can engage with the waterfront in a unique way. The Grand Terminus is located at the end of Walnut Street and the existing floodgate, and it is proposed to be transformed into a terraced area providing seating and accessible access to the riverfront. Using a series of staircases, ramps, and serpentine wing walls, the terminus scales the 30-foot grade difference to provide a variety of spaces at a variety of scales. The integration of public amenities and green space, where possible, will be vital to soften those hard edges that the levee currently imposes. And then when complete, the Grand Terminus will provide a focal point along the Lawrenceburg riverfront and will create a strong regional front door to the community. Moving along, we have the waterfront development. This proposed waterfront development provides opportunities for additional waterfront restaurants as well as entertainment venues on the Ohio River itself. The proposed waterfront development incorporates the creation of a central stage, which would be on access with the Grand Terminus and Walnut Street. The small floating dock would provide ample room for community gatherings and small event performances. The central stage would be flanked with waterfront development, including the existing Riverwatch restaurant to the west and future restaurant space to the east. A boardwalk system would provide linear connectivity to the existing and future developments as well as the central stage. The waterfront development would activate the Grand Terminus area and the Ohio River Channel and provide opportunities for future private investment. The River Promenade includes the creation of 2 overlooks, one on either side of Walnut Street. These overlooks would extend outward along the levee and would provide areas of seating, pedestrian, and cycling amenities, as well as the opportunity to add interpretive signage. From the Ohio River Channel, the River Promenade and overlooks would serve as a visual gateway by incorporating artistic signage elements along those structured walls. The River Promenade will provide a visual progression along the existing Dearborn County Trail, which will enhance a visitor's experience of downtown Lawrenceburg and the Ohio River. The Upper Plaza. The Upper Plaza will transform the underutilized parking deck of Ivy Tech into an active plaza with immediate access to the riverfront, Civic Park below, and both Ivy Tech and the Partners in Health facility. The Upper Plaza sits on top of the existing Ivy Tech parking garage and transformed the nearly 3/4 of an acre into a flexible space that incorporates a variety of pavement styles, plantings, as well as pedestrian amenities. The Upper Plaza would feature a series of raised planters that provide flexible seating options, natural plantings, and where possible, small trees for shade. The upper plaza will provide a physical connection to the proposed civic park that we discussed earlier and the river promenade, and can be used as a community amenity space throughout the year. Moving kind of down the levee, Riverfront Park will rejuvenate the levee and waterfront by providing vital pathways along the levee wall and serving as a gathering point along the waterfront. The park is located at the eastern end of the levee near the Hollywood Casino facility, and the park will be accessed by a new vehicular roadway from High Street through the levee. The proposed park road will wind around the proposed visitor center, which would include restrooms, water fountains, storage, as well as guest information. The visitor center is planned to reuse the existing structure which is currently on site. It could also include space for bicycle rentals and refreshments. Due to the hydrologic changes throughout the year, the Riverfront Park will consist of primarily passive recreation space and pathways that would be accessible at a variety of water levels. The park will provide opportunities for ongoing engagement and activity along the riverfront and will aid the city in developing a rich, diverse recreational experience along the Ohio River. One more. The Lawrenceburg Marina will activate a currently underutilized space and provide visual attractions for local visitors and regional traffic. With the removal of the former riverboat, the waterway can be renovated to accommodate local and regional boat docking, as well as long-term boat parking. The marina would be directly tied to the Riverfront Park by an arched boardwalk that provides pedestrian access, as well as vehicular access in case of an emergency. A lookout area at the end of the boardwalk would provide for visual interest along the I-275 bridge and would allow visitors the chance to extend out into the waterway while remaining safe. The marina also includes the addition of a transitional built space along the western edge of the Hollywood Casino. Those upper floors of the new building would provide access to the gaming floors or restaurant space in the casino and would be used to provide exterior entertainment and dining options that also overlook the park. Lower levels of that space would be programmed for outdoor or temporary use due to the flood constraints, but could be used to provide stairway access to the upper entertainment area as well. As either a part of the outlined projects that we just discussed or done independently, we think an important part of the plan is that the city and the downtown entertainment district of the future would really benefit from incorporating a wayfinding program as well as strategic year-round programming. Wayfinding signage and an ongoing programming effort will better define the proposed spaces that we discussed as they're developed. It will help their connectivity to themselves as well as other areas in the city. And it will really provide kind of instant activity to these spaces year-round. So how are we going to get all that done, right? That's the question on everybody's mind. We recognize that change along the riverfront is really an incremental process. There's no way we can kind of take all that on at once. It's a lot kind of to take on. And so we kind of we understand that we need to kind of identify small pieces that really hinge on a variety of internal and external factors. So we kind of looked at them in terms of funding, permitting, and construction schedule, as well as kind of how they rank in priority to one another and what they're really providing back to the community in terms of a project. So we identified in the plan, we have 3 different priorities, and we've assigned the projects to one of the 3. Priority 1 projects are those that really provide that immediate connectivity or have the opportunity to significantly change the perception of the riverfront and downtown. Priority 1 projects directly improve the physical access to or provide better access along the Ohio River. Priority 2 projects they have significant infrastructure upgrades along the riverfront, and they would provide further connectivity and ties to downtown. Priority 3 projects really start to provide those secondary connections to neighborhoods, as well as and they're being connected kind of through priority 1 and 2 projects. Priority 3 projects are really those long-term kind of undertakings just because of the integration of kind of public and private partnerships, as well as they pretty much have significant capital costs associated with them. So in our plan, we've identified 4 priority 1 projects. And they include the Civic Park, River Promenade, Waterfront Development, and the Upper Plaza. These Priority 1 projects were chosen because they have the most significant impacts in the near and short term. They provide direct connectivity to the riverfront and kind of to and through downtown. So we feel that these projects represent those that are easier to implement as well, just given their schedules, the permitting requirements, as well as kind of our estimated overall project costs. So in the plan, and we'll discuss it a little bit tonight, each one of the Priority 1 projects, we have prepared an estimated scheduling, which is made up of design, permitting, and construction timelines. And we've also provided kind of an estimate of the probable costs for each one of those. Let's see, I think you can, the estimate, just to kind of clarify, it was generated using that conceptual set of program elements that we highlighted earlier. That process that the steering committee went through, they identified kind of all the things they would love to see. So we tried to account for each one of those in these projects. And so we kind of captured one moment in time during our creative process to generate these images as well as the estimates. We've tried to include everything to kind of reach the cap of what it could be, and then we can certainly work anywhere kind of in between. So together in the plan, the Priority 1 projects include just over $14 million of investment, and they could be completed at the end of 2020. The Priority 2 and 3 projects can be implemented in the future to further enhance the area, but upon completion of the Priority 1 projects, go one more slide. Once those Priority 1 projects are complete, we really feel that kind of a great asset would be created to downtown, the riverfront, and the city of Lawrenceburg as a whole. So with that, I think our team is happy to answer any questions there might be about the overall process, and then we can kind of go from there.
What I'd for sake of structure tonight, I would ask that the questioning right now would be from Redevelopment, Board of Works, or the council. We'll allow the folks in the audience to ask questions like we do at every meeting at the end of the meeting to help bring everything back together, because we'll still be able to answer all those questions. But basically, what you've heard tonight is a culmination of what the steering team committee and the community folks have asked for on a very, I guess, like I told you earlier, wish list. I think if you maybe go back a slide to the Civic Park, which seems like the first initial place to start, because it's honestly for reasons that don't include permitting from the Army Corps, which we all know is very stringent process and time consuming. This is all on the dry side of the levee, so it doesn't require any special permitting. So this is something that can be started relatively quick. Just keep in mind, I mean, we control the purse strings. That's when I'm talking about the decision group that was earlier when I said decision group. When it gets to the point of designing this, especially in the construction, but during design phase, I mean, we control how nice or how inexpensive you want to go. So, I mean, questions?
Yeah, I got a question. This basically is the finalizing of our contract with Structure Point, because at our last meeting, what I expect now is that it's been mentioned that we go out for RFPs.
What I don't understand, I guess you're right. This is the first phase is completed. Okay? The planning phase is completed. Next is design, then construction. what I don't understand is if we go out for RFPs for what? I guess I don't understand what we're going
Well,
out. 'Cause-
but I didn't bring that word into the equation. That was Brian, you at the last meeting.
I brought RFP in there?
I'm not hearing things.
The last meeting of the redevelopment commission.
I wasn't even at that meeting.
Okay.
It was a misstatement. We talked about it afterward. It was misstated. The RFPs were contemplating the construction phase, to bid out once we have the engineering work that's done.
No,
So-
I don't think so, Dale. I think it was design and construction. The redevelopment commission, that was my last meeting as chairman. The redevelopment commission considered this process the concept. Okay?
Planning.
Yeah, so the redevelopment commission decided to ask for a request for proposals for design and construction.
And that was, my understanding was that it was a misstatement, and I could be wrong, that
It
the
wasn't.
RFPs are contemplated for construction, not for design.
We basically, we didn't misunderstand it. We're expecting some RFPs. We're expecting some requests for proposals. And if there's anybody sitting here that thinks I'm misunderstanding, please speak up, because that's the way I've been understanding this thing. From the beginning, I was hoping for some ideas.
Okay, you're right.
Right.
But with the way project, I mean, this is my understanding of projects being involved in, most recently, over here at the school. When you have, there's three phases, okay? During your design phase is when the company comes back with a low, medium, and high option of, okay, I want either stamped concrete, pavers, or regular concrete. And they do that with each piece of that design, okay? Then it's up to the people that are making the decisions or spending the money to determine, okay, à la carte, you can design, you can pick what pieces you want and get a quote or get a price, okay?
This is actually the first time in this project that it's been up to us. We
Well, yeah, I mean, because.
shouldn't have been. Should have been, we were, you know, here's the part that's been aggravating for me. In my opinion, the way this should have went was we should have put out RFPs. There is plenty of people in this area that know when the city of Lawrenceburg want to do something, they have the money to do it. We could have got a lot of creativity. We could have had some people come in here and make some presentations to us. Now, I got nothing against Structure Point, and I've been sitting here watching presentations and going to all the meetings. But we have had no other input at all. And we didn't even vote on, you know, this has all happened in a fashion that tonight I think we're getting asked, can you guys move forward with the project? And the way I left the last meeting tonight, I was under the understanding that this will complete our commitment to Structure Point, and at that point, Structure Point's gonna come in if we choose to do a civic park and put a budget on it, which I think would have helped if we could have put a budget on this thing. I believe it could have helped you come up with some things. And along with one or five other firms that might be interested in what we're interested in doing this in this city.
But you do realize that this concept here was made up not by Structure Point, or it was made up by the steering team that people were members of and the community, right?
But it was not planned by any of us. It was brought to us and it was told, here's what we're gonna do.
Right. I think we're at the point, I echo Mr. Seymour, I think we're at the point now. We hired Structure Point, paid them $94,000, I think it was, from the redevelopment committee to get a plan, to get ideas, and bring it to us. And then we would go out for RFPs and have other design companies come in, get the biggest bang for our buck. And I think that's where we're at now, to go out with RFPs with a design.
I'm not disputing that, guys. I'm not disputing that piece at all. I'm just trying to get my head around, because the projects I've been a part of in the past, you don't go out for RFPs till the construction piece. Because that's where you're going to make your buck. That's where you're going to save money, going out and getting costs from different firms.
We go out for RFPs for design. Except there's other companies might have a little bit better idea of what we want in that park.
But, okay, I get you.
What?
But this money you spent then is for what? For naught?
No, it's for the ideas that we paid them for, to go out and get these ideas. Now we have,
who's gonna do that?
we have a concept of what we want to do. So now we invite other design companies to come in, and maybe they have something better for the ideas that we want, for the concepts.
I mean, I'll just tell you what I'm disappointed in the concept. I'm looking at a park, and it didn't consider any of the buildings. Here we are talking about building a park, and we've got a blighted area, and we frankly don't have a hold of some of the most important stuff around us. We're kind of, in my opinion, I just think that there's some things that we've dropped the ball on here. I mean, I'm personally going to vote no to do any of this unless we've got everything secured to the point where it makes sense. I don't want to spend $5 million on a park with what's around it. Did you guys put any consideration into it at all about the old buildings that are in the area?
Yeah, I mean, that was all part of the steering committee and what we did. There was a whole session where we had essentially a picture of the downtown, and we had red and green dots of what people liked and what we didn't like, and went through and really kind of tried to vet that in the areas.
I mean, I'm looking basically at the firehouse. I'm talking about Mr. Scudder's building. I'm talking about Mr. Thomas's building. I'm talking about the building that was, I don't know who owns it now, but it started out in Jose's property. Did you know that that property has 24, 25 feet coming out into the parking lot where you got the stairway going? I mean, there's a lot of factors here that I just don't understand how we're this far along and how we can possibly, it's just, to me, it's just not following the right order. I think we should have talked to a few firms. I think we could have got the firms to come in and give us a rendering and had presentations on that, and that's kind of what I was expecting to happen now, that, hey, we had our Hyatt study, we've had Structure Point come in, now if Structure Point's interested and we're going to focus on a park, and I think it should be done in a private meeting, then I think Structure Point should get a grip with the group of people that we got here voting, and have meetings and fine tune this thing to where you have the best opportunity to come up with designing this project, along with 2 or 3 other people that might be interested in doing it. Now this might not make people happy, but Brian, you said that we were going to put this out for RFPs. I would have brought this up.
Excuse me. My recommendation was to pass this forward with a favorable recommendation to City Council. I have not mentioned
RFPs.
Negative.
Wow.
Okay, let's just look at it like this. Look,
Dennis has been trying to answer.
Go ahead, Dan.
We had the meeting that Mr. Davis was talking about, and I was talking about, was in December. And we had already had the meeting over at the college. And we had this book by then, by the time of the December meeting. We had not to get too winded about this, but we had a full agenda. And one of the things that we brought up in the meeting was we had all looked at this project. And some people, a lot of people, have had some questions that, how do you explain the stairwell up on top of the, it doesn't make sense. And the transition of this paperwork. How do they go up? What do they look like? Are they temporary? Are they permanent? I mean, it really wasn't laid out. You're 100% right when you say we had meetings that there was 5 meetings. I went to 4 of them. And we did put the blocks together, on consensus of the targeted areas that we wanted to address. Connie, you were at some of the meetings. But we never saw the final rendering until the night in December at the college. And then at the redevelopment meeting that we're talking about, we all discussed the idea of maybe getting a couple of different looks, specifically, not on the riverfront necessarily, because this book did a great job of laying out the areas. And that's what we paid the $95,000 for, was to get a concept, at least in my mind. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But December, we said, does the park have to look like this? The Civic Center park, does it have to look like this? And could somebody explain the thing across the street in more detail to us? So someone in the December meeting brought up the idea of sending out for RFPs for different ideas. Not to redo this plan. That's not anywhere near where that meeting was about. And we actually voted on it that night. If you look up the records, we voted for the RFP to go out. So when we left there, we were under the impression that we were going to be able to maybe get some, as Paul said, some other ideas on the park. I'm not saying that your ideas are bad. I'm just saying that some people have some other ideas they'd like to see, or some things changed. And the other thing is, we have for 3 months now, 2 months for sure, we've instructed Brian to talk to the 2 building owners that Paul brought up.
Mhm.
And that got way late in the January meeting, because when I brought it up in the same tenure that I'm bringing it up now, Del, you said that you looked at the appraisals and you had some doubts about some things. We wanted to maybe get some structural ideas before we got into it. So it got set back again that we weren't talking to Mr. Scott. So, you know, we're another month down, and we've been looking at this in redevelopment since May of last year. And I don't know if we're any closer. I hope we're getting close, but I don't think anybody dislikes this plan. I think we paid for this plan. And I don't have any problem with the money we spent on this plan, on redevelopment. To tell you straight up, I don't have a problem with it. A lot of work went into this plan. But I didn't realize, if I'm wrong, you guys tell me, but I didn't realize we were going forward with this exact plan.
I don't think anybody is saying that.
Okay.
I don't think that's the intention. I think the whole idea of tonight was to just tell people that this is a concept. This was a concept that was developed by the steering team and the committee, or the community. Outside of that, that's where it was at. You know, and then it's up to you all to decide where you want to go with that, all right?
Okay, so we're at the point, so now if we say go ahead with it, then American Structure Point runs it, right? And you guys get a certain percentage of the construction costs, or cost of the park? That's how you make your money, right?
Well, I don't.
No, just, so we make, any firm, say you get 6%.
It depends. What
Say,
I
all
would say on
right,
this
excuse
one-
me, say you get 6%. If we go out for RFPs and we have another company come in, they might charge us 4%. And 4% of,
Of what, though? We don't even know what that is
that's what
yet.
we're gonna do.
And
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
another-
That's what I'm saying. I don't, are we too soon? I mean, when you go out for RFPs, you're going out and during the construction phase is when you're going to determine how much you're going to spend, how much it's going to cost you. Is that, I mean, maybe I'm not explaining this right, in my eyes. And that's, I hear what you guys are saying.
I talked to you guys earlier in this year, and I asked you point blank, I said, would it help you any if this group were to put a number on things? And you guys told me, yes, it would have. I personally think that we should have put a number on this. Before we even started anything, as a group, we should have sit down just like we are tonight. If we're, and I can tell you something else, guys, I ain't fighting this project. You can ask people all over the community. I go to Thursday night music on the river. You don't know how many conversations I've had about wanting a nice park. There's nobody that thinks this is a better idea than I do. However, We should put a number on it. We should get some expectations of what we want in our park. The buildings weren't mentioned. They haven't been talked about. We haven't made an effort to push them. And the reason why I'm a little bit upset tonight is because I feel like, we need to give these people a fair chance to make a good presentation too. I personally was expecting tonight that, we would set a budget, we would pick an area that we would concentrate on, or two, or whatever, as a group. That's why we're all here. And then at that point, the people that are interested are gonna know, hey, these guys are serious, they're gonna put some money up now, and give them a month or two and let's see I don't know if we'll have anybody else come in. Well, yes, I do. We will have other people come in because they are interested. There's a lot of people know that this town has money and can do things when they're thinking about it. I want to see all the presentations I can see, and Tony, I disagree with you on one thing. I'm not interested in that percentage. It's our job to keep them under control. But what I'm wanting is I want the good ideas, and I want the company that's going to do us a good job and look out for us. I want a study that's going to give us the presentation we need. I want a study that's going to tell us, after we're done building this thing, what it's going to cost us. I want people to come in and lay all the facts out and just tell us, here's what you guys got to look forward to after you're done. So, that's where I'm at.
And Paul, I think, I share your end game, that what was expected tonight is exactly what I expected. We would identify where we're going to start and put a number to it. I would have had a hard time personally putting a number to anything until I seen some kind of an estimate up there myself. If you tell me to go put a number on the Civic Park piece,
Yeah.
I would have thought $1,500,000 or something would have been a decent number. I don't know. But now that I see that, okay, based upon the wish list, and, okay, it's at 6 point something million, okay, what can we get for 3.5? What can we get for 4 million? I don't know.
That's my point, Kelly.
I know where you're going with it.
Don't know.
I know, but don't misunderstand what their responsibility we asked them to do, was to get these ideas and come back to us with the concept.
Right.
Right?
That's what they've been paid
Okay.
for.
Wanna go out for proposals.
That's the end of this.
Design and construction. How much is it gonna cost? We wanna have proposals put before us to say, okay, if you do A, here's what it costs. If you do C, here's what it's gonna cost. You're gonna get the same product maybe, but with a little lesser texture.
But, RFPs are with multiple firms, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we asking people to come back with 3 different ideas?
Well, I think that's what we need to decide.
Well, I agree. I mean, Mike, you got a question?
I'd like to make a statement, just to clarify one thing. This is the community's concept. Now, whether it be Structure Point or X, Y, or Z firm, we need to go into design next, because you can have 10 firms take this. Now, they're going to have to determine, number one, how buildable is the concept, and at what cost, and can it get permitted? And until you get into that, and then, hey, this number's here, or no, we need to value engineer, which would be up to this board, it may come out, doesn't look anything quite like it, because this wasn't buildable, this wasn't permittable, this wasn't cost-effective. So regardless, you've got to go to design next to answer any of those questions. I don't know, you can put the community concept plan out if you were going to put it out for RFPs, but you can't put 3 different ones out and say, well, what's this, until you get into design. These are guesstimates, and I don't think you guys will argue that. You've got to get into hard design before you can come close on any real figures or real answers.
Well, maybe you did a better job of explaining than I did, because that's what I was thinking, that, okay, we decide, okay, do we want this, or this as far as concrete, okay? And then we have this à la carte picture of what we want to design, and then you determine who's going to build it, based upon what we want, okay? I think that's what Mike was saying, the design piece of it is going to give you options, okay? And you determine, okay, do you want a half-round permanent stage, do you want a whatever, okay, 3 options, high, medium, whatever you want to call it, but you got to have a set of specs that are consistent for anybody to bid on. Am I making any sense?
Is what you're saying, we've already got Structure Point hired to see this through from start to beginning?
No, Structure Point.
I'm asking.
We hired them for the planning.
Now, explain to me then what RFP means, and before anybody answers, Mario, you were here at the last redevelopment meeting.
Yes.
What was it said?
Oh, I even agree it was said.
Well, you just told me it wasn't.
It wasn't my recommendation. You said it was my recommendation. It was not my recommendation. I said, I believe twice. I said, do not complicate it. Let's move it to City Council with a favorable recommendation. That's all we need to do. So we can have this discussion this evening. That was my direction.
I walked into this tonight, and I was hoping, and I am still hoping, that I get different thoughts and ideas from different groups. And I'm not in a hurry to spend the $5 or $6 million. Now, I do understand it's something we want to move on. I want to move on it. But I think this group has made a commitment and made a lot of smart moves. And I want it to be right. I just think we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. We got some property that I just not sure how much this needs to be talked about until we know, should we spend, design process costs a little money, right?
Yep.
All right. Should we be designing something when we don't even own the property?
I think that's where we're at and where I tried to start at. We're at 50,000 feet level. That's just a snapshot of the design and the numbers that we put to it, the 6 million. I mean, I kind of liken it to going and buying a car. You know, you can buy the tricked out Escalade, or you can buy the, Chevy Cruze. Mm-hmm. We kind of shot for somewhere in the middle and said, you can probably do this for 6 million. That doesn't mean that's what the end game is going to look like. You now need to narrow it down. That's why I said get down to 10,000 square foot. We would have more stakeholder meetings. Who all is interested in that park? If there's people who own those pieces of ground that we need to talk to, or if we need to capture those pieces of ground, we're going to start refining that and then really design the park. We haven't designed the park. We have some sketches, some high-level pictures, snapshots of what people's ideas were. There's really not been a design put to it. It's just a picture to kind of move us along. And the $6 million figure, like I said, was kind of middle of the road. I mean, you could probably build an $8 million park. You might be able to build a $4 million park. That's really up to the council and RDC to decide how much money you really want to spend. I think you're right on that, Paul. You got to figure out what that, nugget is that you want to put out there.
Guys, what do we want to spend? Is anybody, we have a group have never talked about what we want to spend. Mark?
Mayor, I've got a question. The last redevelopment, did the board as a whole vote on this concept?
No.
Well, we voted, Mario, the best I remember, you can check the minutes, but we voted on proceeding with a concept like this. Then we wanted to go out for design and construction proposals. Now, the design part could be part of this, not part of this, okay? And then the estimated cost for construction.
I think you're going to have to decide on a concept or a basic design before you even go out for the RFPs. In other words, if you're a design firm, you got to know what you're designing.
Well, you're designing based on a concept like this.
That's what I'm saying. You either got to agree on.
Yeah.
If these three boards accept,
I think
if you guys accept this community steering committee
$95,000 for it or something like
concept.
that.
But
This is the concept.
And that's the point. I think, Mario, the answer is yes, and that's what I meant by confusion, because we were talking in engineering terms, but we were the redevelopment. I'm just speaking because I was at both of them. For whatever it's worth, we're all saying the exact same thing. Dennis is saying the exact same thing as Paul, as the mayor, as Mel, as Tony, as Brian, as Mike and Mario. Everyone's saying the same thing. We did accept this conceptual design. Now we have to move forward with the next step.
With the design and the construction.
Yes.
I gotta disagree with you there. I never, I know this is an idea, and I know it can be changed, so I never thought we would be talking to other people. I know there's other people that want to talk to us. I know there's other people willing to give us a conceptual of this park area if we decide to put a number on it and give people a vision of what we want.
Okay, and I agree with you. I agree with that, Paul. But if we give a number, it better be a good number that these companies come back with and say, okay, I'm going to build you what I'm giving or showing you for the X number of dollars. Because it's just not going to be a concept, but it's going to have to be pretty hard numbers, correct? Is that what you're asking for?
Budget. No, I'm just looking for a budget. Kelly, when you built your house, did you just leave it wide open, or did you have a target?
No, I had a target.
Okay.
You're right.
Why don't we have a target?
That's what I'm saying. I think we do need to have that number. I'm just saying it can't be just a concept. It's got to be something that's going to be able to fit that number, correct?
If we would throw a number on this subject and
Yes.
say to you that, look, right now, all we want is a civic park,
Yes.
would that help you guys? And here's what we want for that number.
So you're gonna have to have a pretty clear idea of what you want.
That
Here's my can I make a recommendation? Because I hear requests for proposal and everything like that. If you're gonna go down that path, I wouldn't ask for proposals. I'd ask for qualifications. Because any design firm that's worth their salt would rather sit down with the stakeholders, talk about what your ideas is, what your visions are, instead of just coming up with a concept and throwing it to you. I mean, I could come in here with 3 concepts, Paul, and you wouldn't like any one of them, and I'm out at that point. I mean, I'd rather sit down, you look at my qualification, you say, yeah, they're qualified to do that. Let's talk to them, and then pick on qualifications, and then work with that firm. Because it's going to be really hard for any firm to put a number to a design on something that you don't really know what elements are. I mean, you got a lot of different elements that are in here. Sorry,
Oh, you're fine.
Go ahead, Mario.
In the past, the 3 boards, Board of Works, Redevelopment, and Council, would get together, such as you are here, pick and choose on there dollar-wise. Are we going to keep it under this level? And those boards would say yes, and that was the starting point. I mean, right now, you guys are like this. Oh, I think you'd agree with that. You've got to come up with a number that's going to build your design, that's going to build your project.
I agree.
Well, I don't know if we're like this. I'm sitting here doing all the talking, but I have talked to most of the people, and I can guarantee you guys.
Didn't talk to me.
No, you want structure point. I don't not want them, but I was fully expecting.
Let's back up. Let's back up.
Well, let's back up to January when you hired them.
When I hired them,
Yes, sir.
I didn't get permission?
After the fact from redevelopment, yes, you did. Never came to council. No.
I beg to differ there.
No, it's
I don't have
not.
I don't have the ability to spend $90,000.
You did through
Redevelopment
redevelopment.
did. Redevelopment did.
Okay.
We're the one that voted on it.
It would have came to me, Kelly, I would ask, how many firms have we talked to?
Right.
That's all I would ask. I haven't been involved. I just ran because, and Mario, I will insult you, but I don't want to do things like we've been doing the last 20 years.
No,
I hope we're doing.
no argument here.
All right, here's my question. We're not able to go out for design right now then, because we don't know the elements that we want. We have a concept, but we don't know the exact elements in that concept that we want. So I think we ought to have a meeting between Redevelopment, Board of Works, and Council, We will decide what we want, what elements in this concept we want, and then we'll send out for design.
Who do you suggest we have facilitate that?
Nobody's got to facilitate, it's us.
We're gonna write down all the elements we want?
Yes.
And
So
First, we have to decide on our
Let's have a
elements.
meeting at the park. We haven't picked out a spot yet, but we're all talking about the park. Why wouldn't us have a call for a city meeting, just like we did tonight, and have it at the park? Because we're gonna want us all together to hear it, so you're gonna have to notify the public, and why don't we have the talk at the park?
We look at the concept and decide what we want. Bandstand, walkway here, brick here, sidewalk there, grass here. Come to a conclusion what we want, what elements we want, then we go out for design.
And
RFP.
if there's anybody else that wants to participate in this process, they're more than welcome to do it.
And I'm not against that at all.
Okay.
Okay? The only caution is, somebody's got to bring all these ideas into one, okay? I think we're, it's hard enough for 5 people to come up with a decision on something, okay? How are we gonna, okay, if you want something and then Paul doesn't want it, how do we solve that? How's that gonna get solved?
Him and I go out behind the building.
Okay, well, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose.
I think we work good enough together that we can decide, we can give and take with each other on what we want in this park, because I think we all want the same thing. We want a nice little park, have the music on the river on. We don't want to spend $6 million, guys, because there might be a company come in 3 years from now and said, hey, I want that corner, and I'm going to bring this business in, and Lawrenceburg's going to make all this money off of it. That park's gone.
It is?
As far as I'm concerned, if you can bring good business in for that corner, and that's a big part of this right now, we're losing a choice A1 spot of our downtown for a future business. So do we want to put $6 million into it? With the possibility somebody might come in and want to put something there that could really benefit the city of Lawrenceburg? Not that this isn't a benefit, this is great, I love this, but I have a hard time putting $6 million into something that we might sell 3 years from now.
See, we're already disagreeing.
Yeah, I didn't understand that one either. You go ahead, Mario.
This talk's from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind when you do decide what you're going to do there, I think Paul brought it up earlier, the inside of it, this is the staff, what's it going to cost to maintain this monster on an
Yes.
annual basis? 5 years out, what's it going to cost to maintain that?
Yeah, we're feeling that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes, sir?
Just for what it's worth, the book, I thank you for the work you did as a redevelopment member. And you would say right on the book, this is a strategy for creating the riverfront city. All the meetings I went to, we never had a vision for any particular area. It was a collection of water side and dry side of the levee. And it went all the way from one end of town to the other. Am I wrong? So we moved blocks around on a big magnetic board. We did that every meeting. But this was never in anybody's head until that December meeting, just this past December. I think when it came to fruition, I think some people were really wondering, you've hit all the right areas. You really have. So you've done a great job. But some people have some trouble, and they're not really saying it here tonight, but they have some trouble with things like the area of the stairwell going up on top of the parking lot. And we have reasons to have trouble with that. That's the only part of the parking lot we could never build on because the foundation is proper. We could build just like they built the Ivy Tech up until the first scene. So we're wondering why we're using so much of the second lot that it's been pointed out tonight that we don't own 24 feet of it because it's been granted to the row house building. And it's just, you've done your job, but I think everybody is concerned, a lot of people are concerned about how do we go forward. And in the December meeting, I can assure you that we voted to get RFPs, and everybody that voted on it thought we were going to get some other ideas for this civic park. I don't think anybody, when they voted, let's get a different idea for the marina, or for this or that, I think you guys have given us the plan. And I thank you for that. But I honestly, Kelly, think that some people have some other ideas that they'd like to see.
I'm
That's all I've got to say.
just trying to state the facts. You got, I agree with you.
I'm trying to stay facts too, as I see them.
Right. Right. I appreciate that.
I mean, what were we looking for tonight, Kelly? Were we looking at the end of this meeting to have a vote or a motion to move forward with design and hire Structure Point? What were the expectations? How did you expect this to end?
Well, I expected us to put a number on the Civic Park. I thought the Civic Park was probably the most common area to start, I thought, based upon what I had heard from everybody else and the other groups, like Dennis had just mentioned. So I thought we'd have to put a number on that. And then we would start the design phase.
By starting the design phase, when we put a number out, you mean go out for RFPs?
Well, I didn't, I wasn't at that meeting. I'll apologize. I wasn't at that redevelopment meeting. Based upon what Brian had told me, he had said he had made a recommendation to go forward with the concept here, I guess, to this group. That's what I knew, all right? If it's RFPs we're gonna do, or you want, that's RFPs we're gonna do, okay? But I think, as everybody's mentioned, we gotta have a number, and or RFQs might be the best, because we want people that are qualified to be able to do this, correct?
Absolutely.
Not just somebody that's gonna come back with a concept that we can do this for 3.1 million and then find out it's really gonna be 4.5 because they've never done this before.
Right.
Does that make sense? So how about if we do this? For tonight's sake, we decide that we want to go out for RFQ for this, for the design piece.
Request for qualification.
Yes.
Okay.
But I think we need to put a number on it, so then, and then we'll have to work on the design piece after that.
Okay.
I mean, because it's, 4 million or whatever that number might be, whatever you guys come up with is, could mean a lot of things, right? So.
I mean, does anybody want to jump out there with a number, or y'all want me?
Go ahead, Paul.
You got one.
I'd like.
Can I make a comment before you do?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm surprised somebody hadn't asked, but where the money's coming from.
Oh, you got it.
Well, after I made it, I was going to ask. Mayor's office.
Okay, yeah, it's going to come out of the mayor's budget, right? All right. No, my anticipation, and trust me, I'm not trying to do this autonomously. I mean, but I do know where there's money at and everything like that. Through the first 14 months, a big project that we did as a group here was pull in all the loans that were out there, okay? And to date, we've pulled in, what, 10 out of 13 or something like that have paid off in full, or we got commitments for a couple more that are going to be paid here in the next 30 days, I believe. And that, I went over and found out today, the monies we've collected thus far, out of the ones we've collected, is north of about 3.5 million. Myself, based upon, and like I said, the only way I knew that maybe the Civic Park was, for what I see up there is, it looks like 6 million. I would have never known that, okay? I would have never known that kind of a concept would have maybe cost that, personally. Maybe other people do. But I was hoping we'd pull the majority of that money out of there, and utilize it, because it doesn't get into the investments or the money that has been put back into parks or anything like that.
I'd have less than that.
I'm sorry.
I've got a vision of what I want. I'd like to say this. I'd like to make a motion, but what I want these people concentrating on is there's got to be some land acquisition. So the number that I'm going to put out there has to do with that.
Includes that, you
That
mean?
includes that, because I feel like that I don't even want to do this park unless we get control of of this thing. I mean, there's no, I don't have an interest of spending $100,000 on this park if the area isn't improved. So my statement to this is that I would like to see if the board would commit to $4 million for the total park, but that's going to include it. What I'm thinking the total park is going to be from the firehouse to the parking garage. And what I think.
Both sides of the street?
Well,
You know
we've
what?
got Short Street,
Right.
we've got the firehouse, we've got the Union Hall building, and we've also got an issue catty corner, because we don't own all the parking lot.
We own it.
No, we don't.
It's leased out or something. It's,
The easement.
it's.
That's an easement, 24
We own
foot.
it. We own it. There's an easement on it.
24 foot.
So, in my opinion, my motion is to make a commitment, if people here would like to follow up on that, of the $4 million, but in that cost, I expect there to be the land acquisition we need to make the development in that park area.
Okay, can I just make a comment to that before, because I mean, so we're talking about the firehouse piece of property
Yes,
as far as acquisition,
right?
the easement for the row house,
Easement, or it's reasonable, so he might not go easement.
okay? But the easement would have to be included somehow.
Absolutely.
And then you're talking about, on Short Street, you're talking about 3 buildings.
Yes.
Okay. Me personally, I think that's a redevelopment issue, a redevelopment RDC issue. I think they should be the ones doing those acquisitions,
That's fine.
not the project, or not part of the project, so to speak. But I think it needs to happen. I agree with that, 110%.
Okay.
Because we all know that would, even if the project doesn't go any further, we all know that would help the area of town, right?
I would like to have that easement looked into, because that easement was granted for them to put a bar area outside, and then that guy,
Look at all
then that guy
that.
sold the building, so I don't know how that easement could go with it.
That 24 foot is probably the least of our worries.
It's still part of it,
I know.
and it could end up being an expensive part of it.
Well,
Tony, I owned the building for a few months.
Uh-huh, and what was that?
It's a deeded grant from the city to that property.
Don't know how that happened.
Restrictions are you can't build on it without the city's okay. It's deeded, it's on the deed.
Don't know how that happened.
It's on there, I know.
wonder how a lot of things have happened, right? So, I mean, Paul, can I say that you're making, I think we need to come up with a number we want to spend on the park, assuming that redevelopment is going to take care of the acquisition. Does that make sense?
I will make it on the condition
Okay.
that redevelopment does that, because like I said, I'm not interested in putting a dime in it unless we got the property.
Okay, now when you say that, that redevelopment makes the acquisition, that's coming out of redevelopment fund then? Or it's coming out the other 3.5 you just said we brought in?
Well, it's
No,
already,
that would come out of redevelopment.
and that's already in
Yeah,
the
they're
works.
taking our money.
Yeah, we could,
Mayor, it's just a point of clarification.
I think so.
I believe that we have a consensus agreement between council and redevelopment to pursue those properties, and the value of those properties is probably going to exceed what redevelopment has sole discretion over approving. So we're going to need an additional appropriation from council to complete that transaction.
Well, I would anticipate, yes, redevelopment will get to that number to make that happen, and then bring it forth if there's additional appropriations needed, yes, and then it'll
I'll
be up to
second your
council.
motion on the $4 million and the condition that the redevelopment acquire those 3 properties.
And
I got it. Let me clarify again, guys, I don't want to be
Okay.
representing this as we go forward. Are you saying then, we're going to allow redevelopment to do their thing,
Yep.
and we're committing up to $4 million for the park, potentially?
Yes.
All I'm committing is $4 million I want it to be for the park, the acquisition of the buildings, and the demolition.
Holy.
That's where I want
Not
to,
gonna be able to do that.
You're throwing demolition in there too? City-owned property, but I don't think we can do it for that, Paul.
Paul, in order to do that, I think you're gonna need $4.5 million. If we dedicate $4 million for the park, you're gonna need $4.5 million, including the buildings, according to my math. And you include demo in there, that's another couple $100,000 maybe, with abatement and so on.
I just, guys, I guess what I'm putting out there is a vision for these, people with an idea to work. And if they come to us and they say, hey, guys, here's what we got for that, we're having a hard time. We don't know that the second company won't come in and say, hell, that's plenty amount of money. If it isn't, we can have another talk.
Well, I think first needs to happen, if we're gonna put an RFQ out, that's just request for qualifications. That's just saying that these companies, whoever applies or commits back, can do the work, and they can prove that they can do the work, okay? Their design won't be when the RFQ comes back. After the RFQ, then we'll say, okay, company A, company B, company C is qualified to do this work.
Then that's when we say what we want to go in there, the elements of it.
That's my interpretation, yes.
All right.
So I think so that number you're putting out there is pretty arbitrarily, because we're going to know the piece on the acquisition fairly quickly.
We're just trying to get something moving here, guys, and I'm trying to show the community of engineers that we are serious about a project and we want to do it.
And I would suggest that we just make the motion tonight to go out for RFQ and not put a number to it until we get the properties bought.
How long are we gonna give them to put the RFQ together? 2 weeks, a month?
Well, the RFQs shouldn't be that time consuming. What we usually put out there on those, Mike?
Rarely.
Well, no, but we just did, didn't we?
Well, the only RFQ I have done was for the IT services.
Right. That was a 30-day post or whatever. Am I right about that?
With the dollar amount, with an RFQ, just have to find out, I can't, it's gotta be advertised.
Okay.
How many days after the last advertisement? Open, every process.
We could say that the RFQ will go out within 2 weeks?
Yeah. That'd be the soonest.
We'll say 2 weeks. All right, RFQ goes out in 2 weeks. Dell will research the timing on it and will report back to us. Probably should get a vote from redevelopment before we...
Before we vote, can I ask one question? Sure we don't need a budget on this?
Mhm.
Okay, just ask.
Not for this.
Because they're not coming back with their proposal, they're coming back to tell us that they're qualified to even do it.
Right, then we give them a budget.
Yeah. And then, in that time, we'll have the pricing on the acquisition in the next 2 to 4 weeks. We'll have those to be able to bring back, redevelopment will have it, and then bring it back to council, and we'll move forward. I just want to keep making sure we move forward.
So that's the
motion is to just go out for RFQs.
Using this concept.
With the civic park. We're saying,
You want 12 people that have park design experience?
yes,
Okay.
that's the whole idea, is to see who's qualified.
Got it.
Okay, I'm gonna, thinking we probably should have the redevelopment vote on this, not council. Or they can move it forward.
Well, we sent it forward to council, right?
Yeah.
We sent it forward to council.
Yeah, I think
Not for RFQ,
maybe it's appropriate to amend that, whatever the proper procedure is, to, versus an RFP and RFQ. Because that's how the vote went.
That's true.
Did we say 4 RFPs? We didn't actually say RFPs?
Yes, you did.
He said RFP.
Yeah.
And what we're discussing now is an RFQ.
But it's gonna be hard to amend it, because, Mel was on that in 16 and not in 17.
Your Honor,
Yes.
can't the council just decide on its own to go out for requests for qualifications?
Yeah, I mean, we can, but I just didn't want to step on redevelopment's toes.
Development,
You know?
if they're here.
Just
they
step
nodded.
lightly.
Yeah.
So I think.
Do I get a nod?
Yeah.
All right, then I'll accept the motion, I'll entertain a motion to go out for RFQ for the civic park piece of the concept that we have, within the next, we hope to have it ready to go out in the next 2 weeks. I have a motion.
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion will carry. All right. I did tell the audience that they would have an opportunity if they want to come to the podium. So I'm going to honor that. Anybody like to speak to the?
That was just council vote.
Yes, it was. Sorry.
Kelly, before you go out, I just want to tell the council this, that when I sold those 2 buildings to the gentleman from Cincinnati who bought them, I told him I would not sell them to him until I went to see the city. I came to the city, I saw a grant, and I said, I will give you back that 24 feet if you want it. I'm going to sell the building in 2 days. Said we weren't interested. So, you know, the gentleman over there didn't have a use for them.
We're interested now.
No, I'm just saying, he didn't have a use for them.
Oh, I thought you were asking us now, though. Okay.
But I know somebody that doesn't know who owns it.
All right.
I'll talk to him.
He didn't have a use for that 24 feet, and he wouldn't have had a problem if he still would have bought the building.
Okay.
I'll talk to him, Dennis.
AJ, you can come up to the podium.
Good evening. My name is AJ Waltz. I own a business down here on Walnut Street. I also have a house over on Arch Street. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend any of Structure Point's meetings, but I do have some questions as you guys look to go forward on the project. My first question is the $6 million for the park. When I looked through the booklet that you guys put out and I watched your presentation tonight, can you maybe better explain what that $6 million was budgeted for? Did that include the steps and that structure by the steps? Is that most of that $6 million going towards that?
It did not include the structure.
Did not include that structure that we see there?
It includes a to accommodate changes to any restrooms that might be needed, but it does not include building onto the scale or character that is shown in the.
All right. So I was happy to hear tonight where Mr. Seymour mentioned about cutting down the $6 million to the $4 million budget if you guys were to go forward with that idea. I do have some concerns regarding those stairs and the whole top area of the parking lot. When I moved my business down here in 2013, it was when the event center was getting started to be built, and I heard in many numerous meetings that I attended at that point about parking being an issue. Once the event center has been built, it seems like the parking has not been quite the issue, but also the event center hasn't been to its full capacity as many times as we had hoped. So I think that by putting that up there on the top, even though it looks great, I think that that would be counterproductive in removing parking. And I also think that it's counterproductive in the fact that we're taking away a prime spot for real estate. With taking that and investing money into that top part of the parking lot, we're putting money there that somebody might want to buy that property and build onto it. I think that would also be a concern of mine. And I think the idea of doing the Park for Music on the River and this whole project is a great idea, but my concern is putting that money into a park that might bring people down here, but it might not. And after I've been talking to people throughout the community at the Sport and Boat Show and other events outside of just downtown Lawrenceburg, a lot of people don't know what Lawrenceburg has to offer. And I think while I've always been in support of a riverfront project, this might be a little more than what we need at this point when people don't know to turn off a 50. And we haven't really made that end of Lawrenceburg that people drive by every day attractive enough to get people down here, that we're looking to spend, I think, $15–16 million. That's the estimates on building something like that. That's a concern.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Hey, Kelly.
Yes, sir?
Hey, when I was down, when the Mary Kay convention was in, and I had talked to you, there was 800 people from Mary Kay and 400 from another convention. And I was looking out for the restaurants, and I went over and talked to the Mary Kay. Well, I ended up talking to the ladies with the event center, and I said, is there a chance that you could make an announcement so they can park in the garage? And after I talked to her, I decided to drive through the garage. The garage had 10 open spots on it. So we had, the only place to park for the pizza shop or restaurants or the park we're putting it in, but there was nobody on the top deck. And when I got up there, that's a pretty good far walk to the event center when you're already at the top of that. But just to remind you, it was all full, but the top was, in fact, there was snow still on the top. So they didn't mess with that, so. And that's 1,300 people that were here for that, which at the time was a good problem, so.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you for coming out. Yes, sir.
Real quick, I was involved with the steering committee, been involved with a couple other plans, High at Palma and a couple other issues. What I hate to see, and I love, talking about different ideas, different RFPs, but you have an administration that's 13 months into their 4 years. We got one idea. I'd love to see you guys get together and just try to move forward.
Sir, I can't hear you. Tom, could you speak up a little bit?
What I mentioned is 13 months into the administration, we have one idea, and everybody's talking about maybe getting another idea here, another idea here. There's things that have to change here, and I'm sure it happens throughout the process. I'd love to see is where you guys can get together and just move forward.
Well, I think that's what we decided to go forward.
Okay, so I sat through a whole meeting. Where are we with the concept?
Well, I think the concept has been embraced. The design portion is what they're asking to get the RFQs for.
Okay. I think, Paul, you're spot on as far as looking at the other buildings to move forward with. I think that's definitely something that should have been on the forefront.
And just so everybody knows, those buildings are on everybody's radar, and they have been, and there's still stuff that will actually happening even today. We just can't share everything with the public because it involves people, and we don't have a contract in place. So I just want everybody to know that, we're very cognizant of the properties that need to be looked at and hopefully purchased in order to make the concept work. And I really believe that it will happen.
Oh, yeah.
I think the groups that are involved are going to ensure that happens. And let me just, your point's well taken, Tom. I know what you're saying. Let's get moving, right? I mean,
I hate seeing, it wasn't the issue with this only structure point, looking at one group or whatever. I have copies of 3 other studies that were done, and they didn't get done there was not enough movement during that administration, so it completely falls off.
Well, I can assure you, I think this group is committed to making sure it doesn't fall off the grid, and by the end of the next 3 years, I can almost be pretty sure that a civic park will be built. That's my opinion, but it's up to these guys, and
I feel like that, this park and the commitment on the buildings and we've had a potential investor, I think us making this commitment to this area of town is gonna bring people. And I don't mean to make it sound like I'm trying to slow things down. I just want, frankly, I think it should have been done 6 months ago, like where we're at now. But I'll take what it is tonight. I just want to move forward at the right move and pick the best person, and I'm ready. I mean, I want it done too, just as bad as you, Tom.
Tom, I've been here 15 years, and I worked for 3 different administrations before I got elected to this one. This is the most progressive administration and group of council people that I have worked with since I've been in Lawrenceburg. We're not going to let grass grow under our feet. We're going to make grass burn as we get things accomplished.
I believe you, and I think there's evidence there. I'm not questioning that at all. But when you have this audience, talking about looking at, different plans, and maybe more ideas, I don't want that to slow you guys down.
We have other ideas in the works, I think, that probably can't discuss right now, but I think you'll be pleased with them when you all hear them.
Great, that's just my part. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.
I just want to say to Tom's point, no, and Paul, I don't think anybody sitting on redevelopment or the council isn't totally dedicated and enthusiastic about fixing our downtown and other projects. I think what Paul brought up tonight wasn't a slowdown at all. I don't think we can be equated with any previous administration like Mel. No, I just want to finish. But as far as trying to push it forward any faster than we did tonight, I don't think that that's proper right now. I think we're only a couple of weeks out from getting RSQs maybe, or the idea of it.
RFQ out, yeah.
People are working on the properties that we're concerned about, and we may have an answer there sooner than later. And I got to tell you, there's not one member that I know on either council or redevelopment that isn't aggressively pursuing this administration's idea. And I think they've led a lot of different projects throughout this first year. You say 13 months, it's 12 months, but nevertheless, they've done a lot of things that hadn't been done here before. And, I mean, really, some of them have been great, some of them they're rethinking, but it's been pretty exciting. And I live downtown, so I see it on a daily basis. I want to say that.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll give everybody a chance. I'll close just saying that I think this group that you've seen here tonight is committed to utilizing the gaming dollars that we have for one of 3 reasons, and that's because the state dictates that. That's what they want to see out of us, using it either for economic development, education, or quality of life. I believe this project fits into 2 of those 3 categories. And so I applaud this group for taking it under their wings. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for your message.
Huh?